Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sir, and welcome to another Foxhole Community Media podcast. The mouthful it always has been. I hope you guys can hear me. I am just waking up, literally just now from a nap, basically. Today we've got a pretty good group of people. A nice little guest list here.
I hope you're not talking about me.
Well, you know I'm not. Of course, that's Stranger Days.
You're supposed to say hi.
You're supposed to say hi.
Hello.
That's your. See, you're talking when I'd never.
I had
wanted to
already talked. You guys normally
Okay. Oh, sorry.
get so angry at me when I speak. Okay.
I'm always angry when you speak. Sunchips,
What's up?
Delph,
Hello.
joined today by Scorpion
Hello.
and the one and only Markfoot.
Hey guys.
And you guys already heard who I was. You already know. Don't care. So it's kind of an interesting stream we got going today. Jam-packed. Later on, we'll be having a Q&A with Mark about the mainly focused around the logistics changes that are to come that haven't really happened yet. We got to see some of that teased in the dev branch. So if you guys have your questions, just hang on to them. Start writing them towards the end of the stream, which isn't going to be very long. We'll be answering those questions. Of course, we have Crazy Flying Chicken out there, who I can totally ignore because his questions don't matter. Excuse me. Just to kind of recap the most recent changes that we've had. It's not really a whole lot. We have emotes, right? That's about it.
Seen a lot of fun with surrounding debris. It's been good.
I was actually torn on the use of the emote, right? Like, I actually didn't like it. I thought people would be like doing a little too much surrender, you know. However, the combination of salute and commend has been nice, and that's a good combination. Let's move that over there. We also got the ability to open things from inside our trucks finally, which is cool. And the map, the mini map.
The best edition.
Honestly, that's a pretty good addition. Of course, there's a whole number of game balance updates and so on since we last chatted. Yeah, do you guys like the emotes? Have you been using them a lot?
I've been using a few of them, like the salute and the wave. I still want to wave at Artilleryman before he blows me up. It's my
I've
dream.
been using quite a bit of emotes. They're great.
I still have to memorize where they are. I don't know. I think they're cool. It's a nice bit of color to see.
Yeah, I mean anything to like help communication without having to say anything or type anything, and just humanizing the characters a little bit more is good for me.
Yeah, like the hello, and then seeing that guy
Right.
who just said hello getting shot immediately afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
No. What's even better is cheering as a green ash grenade impacts the enemy team as they're respawning.
Ooh,
Oof. Well, what are things you got going on, Mark? Those new emotes. What's your favorite? I'm kind of curious. Do you have a particular one that stands out from the weird angle that we have to watch them by?
No real favorite. I tend to like the more like grounded ones, and while guys like HB tend to like the more the more like unconventional. Like he always pushes for the unconventional, and I kind of have to like tell him to like tone it down. Like he wants to put in a dance and all this kind of stuff. And I'm okay. Let's just start with like the grounded stuff first because it's more in the vein of like Foxhole. But then he's always the one that always pushes in the other direction. So
what you're saying is we're not getting disco ball dances.
I don't know how you guys feel about that. I personally, maybe I'm like boring, but I don't like when there's things in the game that kind of break the immersion. Even though there are a lot of things in the game that actually do that, but that's my preference. But
I like it when we can be ridiculous, not that I have to be ridiculous.
I don't really feel there'd be a need for like dancing though in this game.
Right, and as long as you like don't put some weird backtrack to it and make it like a Fortnite dance, I'm out. I gotta go.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably one of the most annoying things. Scorpio, you know how in CS:GO they have that super annoying VIP music that you just can't mute.
The MVP soundtrack.
Yeah, if there's one thing that makes me want to Alt F4 any faster, it's that.
Yeah, I would draw the line at dances. Any ridiculous stuff before that, sure, but dances, I don't think they have a place on a battlefield.
Right.
Well, try me. I mean, I to be honest, like I would love to see this in combination with like you know what are they called? Instruments. That's the word I wanted.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like one of the features we had to cut from that was holding props, right? And I think that's something that totally fits with the game. Would totally help with the role playing. One of the nice things is that because we're not beholden to having to like sell these emotes in like a loot crate or anything like that. Like we don't have to do like, you know, I see a lot of games these days, they will have like all these like outlandish kinds of emotes because you earn them through their in-game economy. It's almost like forced to kind of explore all possibilities, right? Because they got to sell more things, and we're not beholden to any of that. So we can just totally focus on what we think is cool instead of just having to force ourselves to into some kind of a variety scope.
Right. Cool.
I would personally take the ability to emote with somebody like a handshake over a dance.
I would take cool the ability to toggle an emote on and off. Like the salute is nice, but it's so short. I just want to like be able to hold it.
To hold his salute while the DK run off and die.
Yes.
That'd be brutal.
Charge.
I watched a movie recently called, I think it was Heart's War. I think it was Heart's War. They had that like the end scene with the salute. I remember it. Yeah, I think that was good. Trains in Foxhole when? We'll keep that question, that very important question, to the Q&A. Let's see here. Yeah, that's really about it for the for that side of things. We've got the dev branch out right now, which honestly I'm excited for it, and not for the reasons that I should be excited for it, right? We've got the. Oh, you guys got to see a little bit of a teaser there. We'll hold that thought. So the there's a dev branch out, came out yesterday or the day before, whichever one. The scrap mines. The scrap mines and the sulfur mines. I'm so torn on them, and I had a conversation with Duke and KFC about that. Basically, it's a factory, but for scrap and sulfur. You put in 20 fuel, you get X number of scrap back out of it. What do you guys think? Have you guys played around with it?
I like it because it changes basically what a scrapper does late game. Instead of going around scrapping each fuel node, you just do it a lot faster. Get it so you just dump some fuel in, and then just dump fuel into a bunch of different places, if possible.
I've seen a
mine
plus
some stuff,
and
dump some fuel, and then
to
come
it.
back to it.
So on the minus side of it, early game logistics is going to suck worse than it ever has before because the number of fields is reduced. The amount of time you'll spend going from field to start up your truck, to start up your orders is going to be increased. While late game we will have a better time just because we could go up, queue that, and we could have these mines running while we run to the front line, then we go back to the back line, and you essentially just have this sort of loop that you go on. I will say that it does hurt early game scrapping logistics just because of the time that it takes for the scrap nodes to respawn and the number that we don't have access to anymore.
Yeah, KFC was saying that he feels like it's too powerful. And in my opinion, I don't think it's powerful enough, right? The scrap mines in particular, right? The sulfur mines are kind of just like a different beast, but the scrap mines you put in, I think it's 20 or 40 fuel, and you get 200 or 400 scrap out of it, right?
20 fuel.
No tech parts. 20 fuel, okay. No tech parts. And you unlock this somewhere in the whole shebang. I'm torn on it as far as progression goes, right? Because we're going from sledgehammer to a building, and the building really doesn't produce. It doesn't have like any additional value, right? Like in order for this to be a step up, it has to overtake the scrapping, right?
Actually, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a step up or a step down, although I would say that it's a step up in this regard. I don't need to scrap if I want to get BMATs somewhere. This means that I can spend less time trying to get orders to the front. I can do everything from my truck, especially now that we can access all structures from your truck. You can drive up to the mine, access it, put those orders in for the scrap, drive to the front, drop off your supplies, and then as you're driving back to the port base, you'll be able to pick up that scrap that you set up, and then you'll be able to refine it almost instantly because port bases have such a
but the problem is
low refine time. The
problems are that you have a queue, right? So right now you have an issue where you're often tripping over each other's feet trying to get to the different scrap nodes because you're at a scrap node, someone comes up, gets out of their truck, and goes and hits the same scrap nodes, which have a limited respawn timer as you, right? And it's like, okay, thanks. And these things are going to do the same thing. You're going to have to wait in queue for 13 minutes, guys. It's not like it's a short timer, or it's not like it's instantaneous. It's 13 minutes of waiting between them. Now, KFC was able to successfully do loops around, his particular section that he was testing out, and be able to, make those loops. But the moment you add in a second person, like a random who goes, "Hey, I just joined the war. I'm going to put in some passive, BMAT so I can pick them up later." It's a good thing to do. Well, then you just screwed someone because you added 13 minutes to their queue, right?
I do realize that is a potential problem, but at least on the warden side of things, we don't necessarily have 20 people doing logistics. Normally, it's one, maybe at most 3 people supplying a single fob. So I'm not necessarily worried about it because usually one fob supports one front line, so you'll likely see somebody taking a specific route, so all you have to do is take a separate route from them if you want to supply this other side, which you should not be hitting every single one of these scrap mines on any given map if you're doing that.
Absolutely not.
On the opposite side of things, I had been talking with a few others about this as an idea. What if the scrap mines essentially worked like a refinery where you're able, or the scrap mines and the sulfur mines, where you're able to exchange an amount of fuel for an amount of scrap with a longer time period?
Go ahead.
Yeah, something I would like to see is basically where there's no hold timer on them, to where they just drop the resources instantly and then use it for the people who don't do logistics, to where they could just help by putting a fuel order in and then it just drops out instantly for people who are doing logistics. Because well, if you're doing logistics, you could just go and get stuff anyway, like components and VMATs.
But it's going to be a 45-minute timer for it to go public, right? And then you could be screwing over someone else. So it's so my point is it's not like any better worth it to do this over scrapping, right? It's still more reliable and effective to scrap.
I think that was the point, and I think that the devs, Mark, you can confirm this, I suppose. They had said that using a hammer would always be more efficient, or it would produce more scrap than it would be to use the mine.
I was kind of waiting to hear what you guys all had to say first, which it's all. I think it all makes sense. Just in terms of the efficiency thing, to clarify, our goal was that if you're doing lots of things, if you're multitasking, kind of like the scenario that Stranger Days was talking about, where you're bringing things to the front, you're producing things, you're doing lots of different stuff. Efficiency overall, when averaged over all these tasks, will be higher if you're using mines, right? But if you want to go for the highest throughput, right, like basically the fastest amount of scrap in the shortest amount of time, then scrapping is still going to be faster. And we did that very intentionally because it's not necessarily, at least for the majority of the game. Some things might change later on in the end game, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But for a good chunk of the game, that's the way that is supposed to be, right? And I guess there's a lot of, one of the misunderstandings that I've kind of seen was that perhaps this was sort of seen as like, okay, we're gonna get rid of scrapping, or some kind of big replacement for people who don't want to do scrapping. Maybe that's like one of the potential outcomes, possibly, but it's not meant to be. Like, we didn't make this because everyone was complaining about scrapping, right? We made this as part of we sort of have like a master plan now for Logi, and this was one of the parts of that, and it was made towards that master plan, which the goals for that plan is to provide more choice and progression, and trade-offs. That's basically the goals we were trying to go for. So it was more towards that. But one thing that I just have to say, that since we started talking about the mines, something that I've kind of realized is that the perspective that we were coming at it from, we should have been more mindful of the perspective that everyone else was coming at this from, because everyone else has been kind of waiting for some new Logi features, for some new Logi content. And I can understand the anxiety, because it was sort of like, hey, this is the first thing that's come in so long, and Logi players are starved, and it's sort of like, we put this out there, and from your guys' perspective, it's like, oh my god, like there's something new finally happening, and it's not like this crazy amazing thing. But from our perspective, it's more like, okay, well, let's just take one step in this master plan, and kind of like break it off, and let's put it in there so we can start stepping towards in that direction. And I guess it was a real sort of like, what I see is like two groups coming at it from like a different perspective. But so hopefully we can get to the point where we kind of see things from the same perspective.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, and there was one more change about in terms of the mine times. You're talking about it, sir. Yeah. We did reduce the times a bit, just to, at least in the near term, handle the cases so that you don't end up like the worst possible case of a full mine, I think, is about like 20 minutes or something now. But we're going to continue to tweak that number. It may get a bit longer. It may, I don't know, it may stay the same.
Cool.
That's a number that we're going to be taking a look at. So
nice. Are there any plans to add like a passive amount of tech parts to it at all, or are we still going to be grabbing tech parts the old-fashioned way?
For 016, most likely that's gonna be only the old-fashioned way, but we're definitely not against playing around with the idea that perhaps you get the tech parts when you bring the scrap to the refinery. That's definitely in the cards. So
Cool.
we'll see how it goes.
Also in the dev branch, we have new weapon stability, which is kind of exciting to see, like such a minor change to. I mean, it's not minor, but it's a tangible change to combat. Like the overall way that combat is really handled. Of course, it was bugged in Dev Branch, so we never actually got to see it in full effect because basically everything was 100% accuracy.
Yeah, that's fixed now.
Sweet.
We just like rolled out a patch, so if you want to see how that works, you can go in there now.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. It's really going to cut down on the shadow dancing, especially. I hope.
I mean, cut down on it, yes, but from a couple combat players I've talked to, they've still found ways to dance, and it is even more frustrating to fight against than it was before.
So you should like basically before half an hour ago, or like before like an hour ago, it was broken in the dev branch, and anything seen prior to that was not reflective of what it should be. So you should definitely give it a second look because it is very different. And
I will attempt. What they were doing was they had found out that essentially it doesn't matter how inaccurate you are if you're shooting somebody at point blank range. So they had been taking a single weapon, usually a carbine because it's the lightest of all the rifles and does a large amount of damage. And they were essentially only loading one clip into it, and they were literally running at people and then just point blanking them with it.
Right. Well, that's because of the 100% accuracy. The stability just basically wasn't having an effect. But we'll see how that works coming up. Yeah, it's going to be good. Stability, and it happens based off of your movement velocity, I'm assuming, and also the more you fire a weapon, some weapons, probably like the storm rifle, for instance, are going to suffer more from stability loss as you're firing, which is kind of cool to see, especially in this like coming from like a first person shooter to something like this. It's an interesting thing to see implemented, of course.
I think you guys are going to be pretty surprised with these latest changes. You guys, like, it might be changed too much, I imagine, and we might have to even like pull back on it a bit. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, I'm excited. Also in the let's see, we've got tunnel networks which don't decay. Cool. Just fix the rest of it. It's a nice change though, especially because they would decay so easily. And they're also, made weak in the update compared to what they used to be, so that's cool. The network logic rework, such a basic thing that's paving the path to things like fixing the reload bug. Is there anything else other than the reload bug that's going to be tangible?
Excuse you, sir. It's a reload feature, not a reload
bug. Sorry. Well, it's now in the patch notes as a bug.
Yeah.
So.
So there's these weird like desync issues that we had before, where your character would look like they're in one state, but on the server they were actually in a different state. So it would manifest itself in different ways. Like your character might look like it has very funny like movement. Looking like it's vibrating like up and down, or like frustrating things like it looks like you're able to shoot but you can't, like weird things like that. We sort of reworked. That was a lot of work. It was crazy amount of, like, when you compare it to some of the other features which sort of seem like much more flashy, this unfortunately is like, it's a shame because it's a lot of work and it amounts to, well, we fixed the reload bug. And a few other things that not a lot of people are going to notice. But I think in the long run, like I've been saying, for us, this is like a marathon. So anything we fix now, we're going to reap the benefit for years, right? So
Sure.
it's good.
One of the more exciting for me, not necessarily for everyone else, the new Vivek's chat or voice system.
No, that's exciting for me too. And I'm a combat main.
Like Vivek's been around. I don't even know how to say that name, but it's been around since like 05, and it's industry standard voice chat, which is pretty freaking cool. But also, it's paving the way for like the operations chat, especially. I was impressed with the clarity that we were finally getting, especially with not being around people. Like it was weird to not be next to the person I was talking to in game, but not be relying on Discord.
As a warden, I can say that this is a big help because I no longer need to hop Discords just to tell people that we're changing front lines, or that our officers are getting off, or that our members are getting off, or that, hey guys, we've been playing for 12 hours. We're going to log off now. Sorry, we're not abandoning you.
Yeah. And of course you have the operations, of course, and the text chat changes, which I'm looking forward to utilizing. A little bit weird to get used to, but welcome. Especially because you're used to the old system, and you're going to this new system, which isn't really any different than any other game that you play, but it's just a change. So it's going to be interesting to get used to. But the operations, I'm looking forward to seeing people plan things out. It looks a little rough, but I'm really looking forward to actually seeing people come together without the assistance of Discord in a more natural way, especially.
I'm happy just to get tools that allow us to communicate in-game, and I'm even more happy that we get to shape those as a community over time, as opposed to just, hey, here's a system, it has classes in it, work with it. Congratulations.
Yeah, agree. Here we go. I have one more thing to show you guys. It wasn't even necessarily supposed to be in there, right? The sandbags, they weren't even supposed to be in this dev branch, really. But they're in there. I got to be honest. Of all the things that were there, I don't think I was ever more excited about something so simple than the sandbag wall.
Yes.
It's so good. It's literally just a higher sandbag wall, and of course there's also curved sandbags in there as well. Now this isn't part of the dev branch, so this is even coming in 0.16, so this is far off. But even getting to play with these, with how buggy they were, the fob building that we're going to start seeing is going to be next level. Now, just being able to like fully control your building in a much better way, it's going to be nice.
We're going to need a lot more assault trucks to get rid of these sandbags.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
We might see frontline Jeeps now.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Being able to poke over it. It really felt like I was playing squad when it comes to like how you build your fobs. You throw on your hab and everything. It was definitely a nice change visually, and it truly felt like we were actually able to build. Once again, get that feeling of being able to build your area a little bit more.
Right, give that fob meaning rather than just being like it's just a fob in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It's really nice to be able to have them too, because they're able to give you full body cover, so you no longer need to worry about having to build an entire fence and then upgrade it to a wall if you want to have a place where your infantry can get cover. You can have just this nice, small 3-man cover piece that is just, hey, we can't be shot at from the other side, because even when you're going prone, you sometimes do get hit behind a sandbag.
Yep.
It's nice that this is a defense that isn't just, it shoots things or it does some sort of effect in the background that you don't necessarily see. It's nice that it's just a thing that you can build quickly and you don't have to invest a stupid amount of time into its preparation. It's something that can be built by infantry on the front line in a quick amount of time to be able to hold people back. And it also offers you a little bit of a high ground advantage. It's not anything ridiculous.
Yep.
But it does give you just enough to be able to, shoot down at people.
Yeah, I was irrationally excited about these things. Now we're going to kind of jump forward to. I showed you guys the teaser a little bit earlier. We've got the new logistics building. It's literally called New Logi Building. .png or whatever it was. It's if this is logistics and it has utility, I'm hoping it has utility. Holy crap. I'm really curious what this is, right? Mark, could you share any does this actually have utility?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's gonna be initially in the port bases, definitely. And it's I don't know how much.
It's a restaurant building.
I think some of it's hard. It's really hard to talk about it because like I said, this was initially going to be for the dev blog, but I really wanted to make sure that you guys had something on the stream, so I can't fully give it away. But it's I think, how can I put it? It's really not much to say about it without actually saying what it is, but I think it will help Logi players to organize, even though that's really vague. And I think that this did originate as a community suggestion, so that's kind of cool.
Which is funny because I think I know the guy who's responsible, who always like was going on and on about that. So,
and I'm pretty sure you guys would be able to guess what it is, but I'm not going to confirm it. So.
It looks cool. A nice world structure. It's got, it's obviously got crates around it.
I mean, it's like one of two things. It's either we can put items back into crates from it, which would be amazing. Actually, one of three things. We could put orders/shipments in it to be able to bring those to the front. No, one of four things. Sorry, I keep figuring out new things it could be.
How about one of five things?
Maybe.
I'm limiting you to two.
Top 10 Stranger Days opinion.
Hey man, I spend like entire 10-minute periods without talking.
Well, hurry up! I want to get to the Q&A. Jesus.
Okay.
Five,
other than
four,
that, it could
three.
probably. Wait, what?
I'm giving you a
words.
countdown.
Now I'm confused.
I'm giving you a countdown. I know you're confused.
Okay. It could potentially be that you can just store up resources in it, not necessarily shipments or orders or crates, but just resources. That'd be fine too.
It really seems it's gonna, if that's what it is, and I think it is, I hope it is, it'll definitely take the stress off tent cities, by far. So that's cool. Now, guys, get your Q&A questions ready. We've got at most 20 minutes of Q&A, which is a lot different because I wrote down 40 minutes of Q&A on my plan. So.
Just got to do it double time, baby.
Yeah, we gotta get through those questions. Speed rounds. Let's go, boys. If you have questions in the chat, call it out. KFC will most likely ignore them. I'm just kidding. We will get to chat about those. So get those questions. Foxhole's 30% off on the Humble Bundle. /ignore. Nice. Yeah, so if you have a friend who doesn't have the game yet, shame on you and shame on them. You can get them through the Humble Bundle. I guess I'll start rambling off my choice questions so far. I know, guys, if you have any as well, but with the upcoming logistics overall, there's been talk about the next few months of changes that are coming to logistics. what are your like overall goals with that? Like what were your real targeted goals?
Yeah, sure. That's kind of easy because we always tend to. It sounds like common sense, but literally, whenever we come to approach to revamp a part of a game, we're like, first things first. What are the goals? Because it's really tempting to just kind of start with all these like parts, right? Like trying to solve problems without looking at it from the high level. But really, with Logi, what we want to do is we want to add more depth and progression. Allow players to make choices with various trade-offs. We want the game to feel different for Logi as it progresses. We want it to feel more rewarding, and then there's some more practical things like we want to improve like the UI in some areas just to help out with a couple of things there. And as always, we want to try as much as possible to be consistent with the theme and be consistent with sort of the natural sandbox, like the organic sandbox that we have, and try to avoid these like artificial type of mechanics, which sometimes we do have to put in some like artificial stuff as like scaffolding to kind of get over a transition in the game, but our goal is to make it more natural. So I guess in more concrete terms, what we're hoping is that in really over the next like half a year to a year, add a whole lot to the Logi game. I think we haven't really done a lot of that for the last year, as you guys have always clearly pointed out to us. But I think there's going to be a lot more work, and one of the things that is different now is we're at the point where we're trying to plan things in a cohesive way so that the features that we're introducing, like next year as the example, are going to tie in with the stuff that we're doing now. So it's not just like let's throw out this feature, see how it goes, and then maybe we'll change a couple of things. That's not how we're seeing the mines as an example. Its mines are very much one piece of a larger puzzle. Yeah, if that kind of answers the question.
Cool. Let's see. So what kind of like how big of an overhaul is this going to be? Like, all things considered, is it going to be pretty major? Or is it going to be like tacked on to what we've got now?
It's gonna work. It's gonna work in harmony with what we have right now. But there's gonna be, I think, some of it is like we got to figure out the technical side to make sure it's even possible. But I think that there will be one surprise that you guys are probably not going to see coming if we can figure out the technical side. And there's one big feature that you guys probably will see coming, but I still think it's going to be really cool. And all these things are going to tie together in such a way where at the beginning of the conquest, Logi is going to be sort of much. I guess it starts off roughly where it is right now, and as the conquest goes on, Logi gets more effective. If you play it right, you can build out parts of the world in different ways to sort of try to optimize your Logi in a way that can support the war. You can screw that up, you can do it better, you can do it worse, and then eventually at the end you end up with, if you do it right and your side's winning, you'll end up with a really you end up with like a well-oiled machine. And things at the end won't be like now where it's this like these really painful or I guess like more like Logi now it just it's kind of hard at some points, especially in like the mid game, and it stays hard. But what we want to do is make it so that when you progress, you can sort of like you can build out areas in various parts of the world that will sort of like new Logi centers is the best way I can put it without actually saying what it
Sure.
is. And then therefore your Logi in the mid to late game will be much more efficient. So
so cool. Looks like Arnor61 is asking, are there any changes coming to the blueprint system? Basically, you have to wait, hours to get your research items, and a lot of people feel like it's disappointing. A lot of people understand it because you'd never run out of blueprints as a team, but from like an individual standpoint, it's kind of rough. So blueprints, any changes planned for that?
we are part of the plan. I'll say this is to reduce the number of timers that we have in the game. And I think the first one at bat is probably going to be the garrison timer. We have a pretty solid plan for that. We probably just have to figure out a couple more corner cases and make sure our solution that we have is going to work before we go ahead and like tell everyone. But that's probably first. And blueprints. We have some solutions there, but we're not as far along. It's definitely been up as a design in like a design meeting. It's been brought up recently, and some proposals have been made to change it. And yeah, so that's where we're at with the blueprint specifically. But we're definitely like, some of the timers are going to go because we're on the same page with a lot of you guys on some of the timers. We want to get rid of some of them, and a lot of them were put in place because, like I mentioned earlier, in order to make certain transitions, we kind of have to put in the scaffolding first. And sometimes you have to do something like artificial, like you have to put it there as a stand-in so that as an example, like we can fix the pacing of these wars, right? So
Sure.
that they can actually get to a week or 2 weeks. And it sucks in the short run. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of artificial. Why is there like a garrison timer? Has to be done, right? So yeah.
Cool. Aquilius, and I think everyone's wondering, what kind of timeline are we looking at? I know this is planned for like a few months overall, but
so we're aiming for, we got the mines in 016, 017. We're aiming for that feature in that concept art that I showed you guys.
Okay.
And also hopefully our garrison timer solution, and a couple of other things that I think will really change things. They're not, the stuff coming in 017 is not flashy, but I think that it will change the meta, right? And it will make towns valuable again. And like create some strategic value, let's say, right? And then another thing that I'm really excited about with some of the stuff we're planning, I'm being very careful because I want to make sure that I'm talking about the right features, but I think in 017, we're also wanting to, if it happens, and I'll let you guys know later whether or not it happens or not, but if we do get to working on these changes to Logi, it's going to address a long time issue that we had in the game where there's no big trade-off between progressing in your tech and like rushing, as an example. Like you don't get anything by like turtling in, or you don't get as much as you should. So something's going to change in that respect. So there's more of a trade-off. And then later this year, at the end of there's an update planned later, probably towards the end of the year, that we're hoping to get around to that one feature that I told you guys might not be expecting, but there's some technical challenges to get through for that one. And then later next year, there's gonna be a big feature. So that's sort of the landscape there. So it is spread out. It's not like there's no way we could get all of the master plan done in one update. That would just be insane.
Yeah.
Right?
So we are looking into 2019, all things said and done. But
yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Cool.
Insert drool emoji.
I know. Yeah, just you got to keep me excited for the next few months. Jeez. Let's see here. Pick one, Sun Chips. Pick one.
Well, let's see. How about a material type? Is that on the timeline at all? Another one?
Like a new resource.
Yep. Any kind of material type, really. Is that a question? Is that in conversation at all? Literally, all we want to know if it's in conversation, you can say yes. Then we can just go on to the next question.
It's not exactly what this is gonna sound like, but there's gonna be new material types coming in 017.
Cool.
Are they going to be replacing old material types?
No, they're going to be on top of them.
Okay.
But it's not. It's probably not going to be. They won't work necessarily in the way that you're going to expect them to work. Just to be clear, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm being told to use Pachurin's question, and I'm assuming it's the. So on the dev branch, I'm assuming this is the question here. The mines are replacing like a whole lot of resource nodes, like that's harvestable. So you cut the basically your throughput, especially on tech, you're cutting your throughput pretty heavily, and it's really going to cut down early game logistics. You're going to be cut down on the number of resource nodes you have, a possible tech parts. Is that intended, or is that a byproduct, or is that going to be handled in some other way?
Yeah, I think we'll balance that. It shouldn't be so the thing with tech is that it's easier for us to configure that. We don't need to roll out a new patch. So we'll probably monitor things, see how it goes, and then we can change it in between the wars if it's too slow or if it's too fast. And yeah, I think we're also careful to not just have like, if we didn't replace existing ones, it would just be like resources everywhere you look, right? Like, whether it's a mine or if it's like the nodes. And we kind of took a look at the placement of all the resources in the entire world and tried to balance it that way, rather than just saying, okay, we're just going to slap on a couple of mines here and there and then just kind of like fill the world. It's all part of a long-term process to try to like balance out the world, right?
But mines are only available, like, I'm going to say, considering their tech level, day 3 to 4 of the game.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep our eye on the tech rate. And
I'm not worried about tech rate. I'm worried about BMATs.
Oh, BMATs.
Oh.
Interesting. Yeah. We'll see how that works out, right? I mean, there's some people that say that there's too much BMATs going around, but we'll.
There's never too many BMATs. You still have to transport those.
How can you have too many
terribly?
BMATs?
BMATs
the resounding question is,
inefficient
come
to
on.
transport. It's also about how quickly you can use them. Like, even if you had 10k BMATs on a front line, good luck using 10k BMATs in a reasonable amount of time, because you're going to be running out of them either from just needing to repair everything or from people putting down stupid structures. I'm worried about early game when people just logged on and the war literally just started, when people are trying to fill their trucks up, literally, like, pistoling each other to death over the scrap fields, considering there's, 300 BMATs per field, essentially?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. That's something we'll have to...
Me and Sir had actually been discussing this yesterday, and one thing we thought of that actually helps out quite a few people, I would think. What if you were to, and this is going to sound a little ridiculous, triple the size of scrap fields? Keep the same timer, keep the same amount of scrap per node, because that encourages people who do group logi. Now they can harvest a stupid amount of BMATs really quickly because they're all hitting a field at the same time. So you have 3 people, you can gather 3 times as fast, and you have to hit.
Stranger has started on the what ifs.
Yes, what if time?
I'm gonna push your what off to the side though, because we got 5 minutes left. 5 minutes on having Mark. So
wait, can I ask a question though?
Yes, ask your question.
Okay, so this was something asked to me earlier today by a player.
What if?
Any plans on making terrain, such as, for instance, trees, destructible even partially, so that way maybe we could clear up some of these forests, especially late game when we're using artillery that can take out a concrete fob and, I want to say, a solid 7 shells?
Probably not anytime soon, no.
But it is at least one thing that has been considered.
It's more that there's a technical hurdle there. The foliage. You know what? I should look into that though, because it might not be. It might not be as hard as I'm assuming it is.
Well, because you're going from baked into the world to an entity, right? So.
Well, I mean, that brings up the question: are trees a prop? Like, are they something that is not necessarily a part of the terrain, but placed upon the terrain, or are they an actual, like, are they a textured piece of the map, essentially? That's tree-shaped.
Yeah, we should keep that question for Matt, actually. I think he'd love that one.
'Cause, I mean, if they're an actual prop, that means that you could assign them a health value, and you could potentially have it so that way once they take damage, they are replaced.
Yeah, but the moment you load into Umbra Wildwood, every Tom, Dick, and Harry with something that's an I3.
Right. Umbral's getting changed too.
Umbral's getting changed. I actually really like.
I need to check out the dev branch to see if there's less trees.
It looks really good. You should go look at that.
I'm gonna go look at that right now.
Next question.
Hitching field guns.
What?
Hitching field guns.
Hitch field guns onto the back of a vehicle. Oh, towing vehicles. Towing guns. Yield question.
I think I remember this came up in a dev blog or a dev
branch
stream
recently.
Or something.
Basically, no. But has that changed at all?
It was the dev branch. It was a dev blog.
No, a dev stream. It was a dev stream.
Yeah, a dev stream. They had talked about
let Mark answer.
While hitching might not necessarily be possible, from what I remember, that they were thinking about a vehicle that you could put things on the back of it.
Yeah.
Larger transport vehicles.
Yeah, any larger transport vehicles coming. Anything like that. Mark.
There is. Yeah.
We're asking all the right question tonight, folks.
There's something relating to that planned for later this year. So
cool.
That's, yeah.
Yes. So basically, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me go back to my sheet of questions. Is there like a particular like fundamental change to be looking forward to, like a very particular thing at all coming up?
That's really broad. You mean with respect to Logi?
Yeah, Logi. Yeah, specifically.
Yeah, it's like it's what it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that there's gonna be, because right now most of the effort in production and like things like that all happen back at the port base, and there's no real like decision making happening there, right? You're just kind of, you just find the nearest like scrap node or whatever, and you hit it and you bring it back to the refinery, and then you take stuff from the refinery, you put it into the production structures, and there's no trade-offs or risks or anything. But one thing that to look forward to is that we're hoping that's not the only place in the world that's going to be happening, and we're hoping that with some of the changes, it's going to create more like you could take more risks. You can try to create things that are that are in other places, and sort of make some choices there, and then the enemy can maybe they can take some of those things from you, and just have more exciting strategic targets really, that are more than just the victory points, right? And I do want to say something. Like I there's a danger of me talking like this, because it could create a lot of like unexpected hype, right? Like, because I'm just saying, okay, things are going to change this way, and all the stuff's going to be great, all the stuff's going to be exciting, and then you guys are going to create these fantasies and about all of these like crazy features that are going to come, and then when we finally talk about it, it's not going to meet up with the expectation. So what I would say is this: I think it's important to understand that I wouldn't wait for this like crazy moment where it's like, okay, finally all of this stuff is coming with Logi. What I would expect rather is that we're going to be a lot more active in this area over the next half a year to year, much more active in introducing new things to Logi than we were in the past year, and I will look forward to that. So I'll look forward to, okay, like an update comes, and now we've added a couple more pieces to the puzzle, and kind of changes things up a bit, and then we're going to get your feedback. We're going to see what works. We're internally going to see if it measures up to like the long-term plan, make adjustments. I will look forward to that, and try to stay away from these like, well, Mark said that in 017 everything is going to be amazing, and it's not now, because I think that's probably not like you might be let down. I think it's better if 017 comes, the game changes in a way, and then we can get your guys' feedback after Conquest happens. You can tell us, okay, this is, because then at that point we can be free to talk about the feature. We can be free to talk about what our goals were. You can tell us if they're hitting those goals. You can tell us if you like those goals, and it'll be much easier, right? It's kind of a little bit difficult to talk about features that aren't out there in practice, even with the mines. Like I think a lot of valid points have been raised about the mines, and I think that we can make some tweaks, but at the same time, it's also, to me, a bit crazy to be like to drawing conclusions when it hasn't been used yet. Because if there's one lesson we learned over the last like 2.5 years of working on this game, is that it's so often that the way we expect it to kind of pan out, it just works out in some like whole other way, right? So yeah,
I think the benefit of that is that if we didn't have this wall broken between the players and you guys, and then we have those cogs moving, I mean, and that's like perfect crowdsourced, like you say, the fantasies. It's like, well, I feel like a lot of those fantasies can benefit everybody in the long run, to be like, this is something we might enjoy. There's perfect crowdsourced opinion right there. So it's like, granted that you're right that some of this stuff might not come true, it's nice to hear at least the conversations are being had, so then I can come up with some sort of like opinion on the matter and how I would think of it as a player, and give you that opinion right back at you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like those. So like, don't get me wrong, the fantasies are great. That's how like exciting ideas are born. Even like internally, we try to encourage people to sort of not hold themselves back. If they're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if like Foxhole had like trains or something, and instead of saying like, well, I can point out 20 million problems with trains, right? we tend to like be like, okay, well, why don't we actually think about that? Like, maybe trains can actually work, right? I mean, it doesn't always turn out that way. Like, people's natural reaction is usually like, like you're crazy, right? But then like we sort of try to, once everyone comes to senses, to actually go, wait a minute, like maybe we can do this, right? So it's definitely healthy. So like, don't get me wrong there. It's just I just hope that we can sort of like have these like sync up points where we get back on the same page, so the fantasies don't go too far off from like sort of
realities.
Sort of the realities.
Am
right?
I ever
So,
getting a wheelbarrow? Actually, a wheelbarrow on the port base would be nice. But...
Lightning already proved this. While we aren't going to get exactly what we want, we can trick the devs into into giving us what we want. Because right now, Zeus's demise exists, which is basically Lightning's end.
I should take that up with Matt.
Yeah, I have definitive screenshots that say there will never be a Lightning's end. So,
I mean, Zeus's demise is basically Lightning's end. Zeus being the Greek god of
I demand a location storms. To be named after me, and it's going to be like Sir Pitts or something. Something dumb. Cool. And any last thoughts, Mark? I don't know, you were on the
no, I think fence. I could probably do like one or two more questions.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions, lads? Scorpion, Stranger, Sunships?
You said my name.
Oh, okay. So... No, not Stranger. Everyone else but Stranger.
So actually, this is a more open-ended question. I remember at least once or twice you've asked into Roundtable or somewhere else, I can't remember where exactly, if individuals had any top 3 features. Was there anything from this that you liked, or was there a specific reason why you were asking that?
I may have done that a couple of times, so I don't remember specifically, but usually when I ask that, it's because I'm probably brainstorming about something, or I've already like have something planned. I just kind of want to see what your guys' thoughts are on it. So
I had remembered it was about vehicles and maybe like equipment / guns, little things that probably wouldn't be too hard to add into the game.
Yeah. Okay, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
I know that one of my answers is like, can we get a light artillery piece? And what have you guys thought of adding more different kinds of artillery or tanks into the game that may not necessarily be large vehicle with turret on top?
Right. Yeah, there's definitely been some brainstorming with that sort of content. I know Julian was really excited about one such thing.
So we need to ask Julian. All right.
Yeah, you can bug him, but I think he's excited about at least. He always sends me like once every couple of days. He just, or maybe more often, he he'll send me like really strange weapons from like World War II, and he'd be like, hey, do you know this was a real thing? And then like I'll be like, oh no, I didn't know. And so he gets really excited about different types of weapons, like kind of some of the stuff that has been suggested. And in fact, again, it's me that kind of has to be like, well, I don't really, yeah, maybe, but I don't know if there's room in the schedule right now. And then that's sort of how those conversations kind of go. But
so yeah. If I wanted tankettes to finally make it into the game, I talked to Julian.
You're never going to get those. Stop trying.
Tankettes are beautiful. Look at them. They're so tiny and stupid, and they're so lightly armed.
Yeah, but that's 82DK as a whole. So
I mean, if you died at 12 howitzers.
I really want to see more of Julian's art, though. It's pretty good. I mean, and he just got a new art guy, a modeler, is right, Leon. That's his.
Yeah. He just joined us on Wednesday. And him and Julian both are real war junkies, and also like Warhammer junkies. So they really like got along from that standpoint. They were just kind of like geeking out about like tanks on the first day that they met, and about like Warhammer. So.
I looked at some of his art, like the teeth. I think he did a T-34 and some other stuff that looked really good. So I can't wait to see the fruits of his labor come into play if he's not on coffee duty for the next couple of months.
No, we throw our team members into the fire. Like, nice. There is no ramp up period. Usually people will start off with like a one starter task, and then after they're done that one starter task, then we just throw them into like the deep end, and you either sink or swim, right? So
yeah, this is a logistics question, but from a standpoint of the studio, right? What kind of exciting things have you talked about? I don't want to say these words post Foxhole, but you've definitely bolstered the team up, right? You have the manpower, and the world can be yours for whatever comes next. Of course, Foxhole is still going to be under development for a long time, all things considered. But have you guys started looking to the future yet?
Yeah. So not everyone is working on Foxhole, but by far most of the team is working on Foxhole. So I'd say like maybe like. I can't say, but I will just say that there is probably still 50 to 60% more people working on Foxhole now than there was when we launched into early access. So we pretty much like invested everything that came from Foxhole launching and being reasonably successful, reinvesting it back into Foxhole, but there's a very tiny portion that we're sort of that people aren't. They're working on something else, right? So things not even necessarily anything specific, but just more in general, like working on things in the future, not any specific project, but just cool. Some other things that
are we going to see some fortified updates?
I doubt that.
On the topic of support, please take my money. Like literally, just open up your PayPal and let me donate. I don't have friends to give Foxhole to, so don't tell me to do that. Just let me donate to you.
You could bring that money to me. You're 30 minutes away, man.
Yeah, but
beer money.
You're not a developer.
Excuse me. I am the
Your color.
I am the
Your color's purple.
The co-founder of Stomp Hand. Okay.
I am too. I own 50%. No, honestly though, open up a donation. Let me just give you $20 a month or something. Merch. Just take my money so I can support you. And
0.5%. Yeah. So when can I order a signed poster for $20?
Yes, $30. Yes. Something simple like that. I'd take an autograph.
Hoodie.
A hoodie would be cool.
I would like a hoodie, please.
There is movement on the merch store. It's just very slow movement.
Movement.
So Mark, how much would I have to pay for like a 3D printed Warden tank?
We don't sell those, so.
So when are you going to get a Collies Eat Babies shirt?
Excuse me.
Outsource somebody and have them make a Foxhole chess set. I will pay like $300 for that.
Dude,
actually, on a serious
Foxhole chess set, that'd be pretty cool. Actually,
that'd be really
serious
nice.
Note. I'd like to ask Mark: are you happy with sulfur?
That's from the
sulfur.
Left field,
the consequences.
Way to hit him with one of the hard questions.
Yeah.
He said he had
already out of time.
Questions left, and you hit him with the biggest question.
Look. I have been thinking about this a lot recently, and basically a lot of the people who are really frustrated with logistics, or some of the loudest people who are frustrated with logistics, as well as myself, have been frustrated with Sulfur because it ends up either one of two ways. I can't play Foxhole anymore because if I want to do any of the fun things, I have to devote 3+ hours to make enough Sulfur to be able to do them. Or on the opposite side, Sulfur doesn't really matter because logistics makes so much extra Sulfur that explosives don't feel really important anymore. It feels more like we don't have howitzers or we don't have grenades. Well, I guess Logi sucks today. It ends up being B-mats just with a longer time period attached to it to get them. Hell, I'd even say sometimes I have more E-mats than I have B-mats available.
So my list of changes. Yeah. So are you happy with Sulfur? I think that was a root question.
I think that in the priority of all the issues for Logi, I don't think that that's something that stands out right now as something to like revamp. But obviously, there are some issues, so we'd like to hear more about it. But yeah, they're like to sort of have some solid answer. There's no planned change coming in the next like 1 to 2 updates. But again, like we'd love to hear about it, right?
I just this is a question that's been eating at me for the past couple weeks, and this I've been trying to find a place to ask you this during the stream.
Do you ever stop?
No, I never stop.
Do you ever?
Is the rest of Clapfoot working on the loot boxes for Foxhole?
I'm more excited about
Cosmetic
the cookie clicker of companion app that's coming.
I'd like to know when I can get the hot rod flames on my tank. Very important.
Actually, yeah, that's a good one. Some people asked about like a standard bearer, right? Like flags and stuff. Anything like that on the horizon, like some more of those personal customization features.
Clan logo flags?
Oh, yeah.
Fly the BLD standards.
Probably, like, I think some of that stuff is gonna. We'll probably. Our hands are pretty full between now and the end of the year. Maybe we'll take a look at some of that stuff, like later this year or like early next year or something. But I'm hoping to see some of that eventually.
Nice.
See, I honestly don't want to see clan standards because then that's going to become a standard part of the 82K battle kit, and we'll just see fucking flags from the 82nd abandoned everywhere. There's going to be like 50 flags just on a single front line with the 82DK logo.
They're not going to be abandoned. We're claiming our ground.
I'd appreciate it because then it would show me where to shoot. Who's the worst on the line?
Yeah, get them easy. Get that easy KD
you
up.
Say that, and yet we took abandoned ward from the Colonials earlier today. We also took
abandoned ward. The Soviets beat the Germans. What's the point?
We also took back the belt. We also are pushing, or were pushing boot earlier. So, like, I mean,
no need to flex.
Well, I mean, he's saying we're bad. So...
Yeah, but stranger, I made an arty guide.
So Soviets beat the Germans.
Oh my goodness, you made an artillery guide. Yep. I'm so impressed.
Remember, right one, set 75. No azimuth, the old school way. Cool. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there for Mark. And any last comments, thoughts for everyone here except for a stranger?
No, I think I'm looking forward to continuing, like, I just really hope that with a lot of these Logi changes that we're making, I'm really glad that we're hearing all this feedback, and I hope it can continue to be a conversation, because it's a part of the game that we really care about a lot. So we put a tremendous amount of thought into it, and I'm just kind of like looking forward to, having your guys' hands, and then we can get your feedback. Yeah.
All right. Scorpion, do you want to do the thing afterwards? After the stream?
Sure, we can do it.
Okay. So, and actually on that note, there's going to be a second stream immediately after this one. Fun fact, guys. I don't care if anyone else sticks around. Myself and Scorpion, bare minimum. Sunships, you're welcome. Stranger, you're on the blacklist. I'm sorry. But I'm just.
Let me just change my name then.
Yeah, Stranger Weeks.
No, it's Danger Strays.
Danger Strays. So yeah, cool. Thank you guys for coming out. Of course, Mark. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for making Foxhole, Mark.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, let's get a round of applause in chat.
Standing ovation, guys. Come on.
Nice.
Thank you for Foxhole in general.
It's cool.
But yeah, for real, man. Thank you for making Foxhole. This is like the first game that I've played for me in a long time. I have no friends involved in this game, and I've stuck with it for over 1,000 hours now.
It's not a surprise.
That's just in game.
Well, cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that's it for this immediate stream. For people in the chat, if you want to hear myself and Scorpion ramble while we ignore Stranger Days, talking about logistics and game changes and other things like that. Mostly us complaining, in fact. Stick around. Basically, the stream's going to go down, and then it'll come right back up, so it'll split the VOD up. But yeah, cool. Thank you guys for coming, and we will see you guys next time.
See you guys.
I love you.
No!